Ajax are in trouble. The Dutch Giants have for decades dominated the Dutch football scene and have always been considered one of the best clubs in the Netherlands. But their current season in the Eredivisie has been one that's looking troubling. The club is, as of the writing of this video, placed 16 in the championship and facing relegation down to the second division of Dutch football. They can still stay up if they remain on the 16th place, but that will require them to do playoffs. But the question is, how did Ajax end up here? How did this happen? How did Ajax go from being the third place club in the previous season to now facing the relegation line? Ajax have won the Eredivisie a total of 36 times previously. That is 10 times more than the second placed PSV Eindhoven, who only have 24 trophies in comparison. So how is it then that the Dutch Giants Ajax now find themselves so far down the ladder? Well, after suffering a 2-1 defeat to AZ Alkmaar, the eyes are on head coach Maurice Stijn. The Dutch coach was brought into Ajax from Sparta Rotterdam in June of 2023 to try to get the club back on track. However, so far in 10 matches, he's only been able to get 2 wins while suffering 4 losses and 4 draws in 10 fixtures, putting him at his current Ajax squad at a mere 20% win rate, which is quite horrible, putting them at odds with clubs like FC Volendam and Utrecht, who are both facing relegation as well. This current state and performance has shocked the fans who have stuck with the club since its inception in the year 1900 at the turn of the century. With a long history of success both domestically and internationally, everybody's asking, what's happening to Ajax? For some brief history, Ajax have been in the Eredivisie since 1956 and have remained one of the top 3 clubs in the Netherlands alongside PSV Eindhoven and Feyenoord, their longtime rivals. But while Eindhoven and Feyenoord are seeing success in the top of the table, Ajax are currently at the bottom, struggling. And it's so bad that even their own fans are going against them, something which is to be expected with a very passionate fan base. But it's gotten so bad they're trashing their own stadium, they're trashing their own club, and they're going all crazy, walking out on the 3-1 loss against Feyenoord. This was their way to protest the dramatic situation the club has found itself in. A lot of them have even been throwing their anger at the director of football, who was recently appointed, named Sven Milsentant, and of course coach Maurice Stijn, who were mentioned earlier with pressure mounting on them to improve the club situation. They have, however, put most pressure on the director of football, Sven Milsentant, as he was named a director earlier in April of 2023, and since then he's been under investigation by his employers due to a controversial signing of Borna Sosa during the summer transfer window, as there might be a conflict of interest between the director and the €8 million transfer, which has been facilitated by a scouting agency which may have a stake in a football data company which is partially owned by the Ajax director himself, Sven Milsentant. The situation is sort of bleak, as fans as well as the overseeing bodies are all after him for his possible conflict of interest and also the choices he's been making. Fans are angry over the lack of good signings which have been not happening. There's nothing being done to help the club stay afloat or do anything close to even staying in the top flight of Dutch football. The club was also known for making extremely shrewd and organized transfers within the transfer market back in the day, but in recent years they have been losing a lot of their big stars as they leave the club only to be replaced with less adequate players, which we have seen lead to poor results and performances on the pitch. This is all now amounted to a 16th place position and struggles within the Europa League, a group where they specifically have Marseille, AEK, Athens and Brighton. So far they have played 2 draws, but their European dreams don't stand much of a chance if they can't fix their issues at the club itself back in the domestic league. One of the things the club needs to actually improve their current squad, especially after the exit of most of the team's top players. During the transfer window, the club made the biggest signing of €20.5 million for centre-back Josip Sutalo from Dinamo Zagreb. Also picked up Georgios Mikautadis from FC Nets, and for Manchester City, under 21s, they picked up Carlos Forbes for 14 million euros. Gaston Avila was also picked up for 12.5 million euros, filling out the rest of the team with the formerly mentioned Borna Sosa from Stuttgart and the addition of Benjamin Tahirovic from AC Roma. So the signings haven't been horrible, but the club is missing something. The defensive signings haven't seemingly been able to allow them to actually keep a clean sheet, and on top of that, the club is just struggling. The signings haven't worked out the way they were supposed to, and they didn't spend as much as other clubs, and normally their signings would be directed by a specific man, but that man is no longer in the club. That being Overmars, the man who was pretty much behind most of their transfer market genius. But let's talk about some other stuff. We know that Ajax are in trouble. We know that there are some sketchy shinings that have been taking place. But we also know that the club just recently picked up a new head coach. But the issues for the club truly began after the 2019 magical and tragical Champions League run. A run where Erik ten Hag's squad were able to survive the 3 qualifying rounds and able to take on Bayern Munich twice in a fantastic fashion during the group stage, and did the insane task of destroying Real Madrid 4-1 in the Bernabeu itself. This was all a fantastic combination of technical skill of the players like Frankie de Jong, Matthijs de Ligt, Hakim Ziyech, and Donny van de Beek, while Dusan Tadic and Dali Blind were able to supplement with knowledge and of course experience. However, after the 2019 Champions League final, where Ajax lost after having a, again, truly magical run to the top, and by both using pure luck and great tactics, they were able to defeat Europe's biggest clubs. However, this is where it all started. Then the troubles began. First was the controversy of course, Overmars, whose misconduct against the female employees of Ajax by sending unsolicited images began with him having a departure in February of 2022. He was crucial to the club's transfer window, as he had been making the crucial transfers needed for the club to stay afloat and make good choices. Now that he wasn't around anymore, the club didn't have the knowledge of him on their side anymore. With all this drama, Erik ten Hag stayed with the club just until their 36th title before he left in the summer of 2022 for Manchester United. They attempted to replace Overmars with a few other employees and even asked Van der Sar, the general director, to help out with their transfer decisions, but the club ended up selling players during the summer for 200 million euros and only spent 100 million, which actually showed, as the following season the pitch did not look that great for them. They weren't performing well and they were losing matches. This all culminated in the horrible loss of 6-1 against Napoli in the Champions League, and this led to the dismissal of head coach Alfred Schreuder. At this point, they brought in the current football director Sven Mislintat, who formerly worked for Dortmund and Stuttgart as well as Arsenal. He was told to lower salaries and sell heavily due to the lack of Champions League money going forward. They wanted to make sure that he brought in as much money as possible and as little money was going out. And he was able to do it to start with, but with a lot of problems to follow. He signed 12 unknown talents who didn't have a lot of top-level playtime or knowledge. He removed Haitinger and appointed Maurice Stein, which wasn't sitting well with the fans as they liked the former one. This all led to the horrible performance that we are seeing right now, culminating at the 3-0 loss to Feyenoord, which leaves us to wonder, where do they go from here? Well, for Ajax to get back on top, they still have a chance. The club is in 16th place, which means they are in the relegation playoff position, meaning they can still stay up if they win the relegation playoffs. But for them to get back on top and actually perform at the level of a top 3 club in the Netherlands, they need to change things around. They need to sign new players during the upcoming transfer window and perhaps reconsider the current football director, as so far under his leadership and reign, things have gotten worse and worse. We are talking about a point where money doesn't really matter. They were trying to save money, but by doing that, they might lose even more money going forward. If Ajax were to fall down into the lower division, that would genuinely be detrimental for the club. The Ajax fans are truly going through a horrible time. There's a club that truly has amazing fans and passionate fans, to say the least. And as much as they love Ajax and would still probably support it even if they were to get relegated, it is a dangerous situation where they could lose loyal supporters supporters, but honestly, the biggest problem is that they could be dropping down. That would be detrimental for a club that's been on the top of the Dutch football pyramid for the longest time, and honestly, currently, the way things are going, they would need to make some changes to make sure that the loyal supporters don't keep being fed up with their horrible management of the club. Now, of course, the best course of action for the club going forward would be to let either the coach or whoever else they bring in to take the reins instead, to have more control over the signings and to look for a team where they have to spend a little bit more to actually get proper players, or simply look for grassroots talent, look through the academy, find players who will definitely work out well, because right now the players they have are not bad players per se, but a lot of them are inexperienced, and as such they have been struggling in the club. Plus, with all the financial issues, all the drama and everything going around with Ajax's internal struggles, it does mean the club is in a very dangerous spot. Most likely they will get out of it, but the position they're in currently is a very dangerous one, as the higher ups are only looking to make as much money as possible to make sure they stay alive and stay afloat. The players want to make sure they win, but the fans also just want to see the club thrive. As of right now though, we don't know what's going to happen. Will they be able to stay up? Well, the season isn't over yet, and there's still a lot of matches to still be played, and this is football, so anything is possible. So we'll just have to wait and see. Thank you all for watching, I'll see you guys in the next one.